Kenya has been increasingly rocked by certain violent street protests over rising fuel prices, leaving at least 4 people dead and over 30 others injured. The demonstrations triggered by some sharp increases in diesel and petrol costs linked to the ongoing West Asia war brought public transport across the country to a near standstill. The East African nation that is heavily dependent on fuel imports from the Gulf region has been severely impacted by disruptions in global oil supply routes, particularly through the Strait of Hormuz, a key passage for nearly about 1/5 of the world's oil shipments. Last week, the Kenyan government announced major fuel price hikes in response to soaring international crude prices. Diesel prices alone were raised by over 23%, prompting transport unions to call for a nationwide strike. The protesters also blocked roads and set bonfires in several areas on the outskirts of the capital, Nairobi. Now, this is in an attempt to stop vehicles and motorcycles, taxis from operating, and similar demonstrations were also reported in other major towns, including in places like Mombasa, Nakuru, Eldoret, and Nyeri. The police have arrested 348 people and have restored access to major roads. Now, the protests have caused some major disruptions across the country. Nairobi's usually crowded central business district remains unusually quiet, with schools shut and public events cancelled. The thousands of commuters were in fact stranded after privately operated matatu minibuses, the backbone of Kenya's public transport system, joined the strike. And many protesters also argued that the government had failed to respond to public concerns over the rising cost of living.
We import our things through our own ports. Our neighboring country like Uganda, the fuel is cheap and they don't have ports. They import their fuels through Mombasa port. So we're asking this question: how come the fuel in Kenya is more expensive more than Uganda and Ethiopia and Tanzania? Those prices, they are not matching.
This government has been frustrating us. Fuel prices have gone up and life has become increasingly expensive. Our livelihoods have been badly affected. The cost of living is now unbearable, and we cannot continue like this.
The government has also defended the increases, saying that the country is now suffering the consequences of an international conflict beyond its control. And according to economic estimates, a single day of nationwide disruption can cost Kenya nearly about $390 million in lost economic activity. Since the start of the West Asia war, petrol prices in Kenya have risen by about 20%, while diesel prices have surged by nearly 46%. The Kenyan government has said that it has spent nearly about $38.5 million to cushion the consumers from the soaring diesel and kerosene prices. Now, despite being one of Africa's most dynamic and affluent economies, nearly 1/3 of Kenya's population still lives below the poverty line, making the impact of the fuel crisis especially severe for the millions of households. For all the latest news, download the WION app and subscribe to our YouTube channel.